Joey. Hey everyone, it's Brittney from theprettyplus.com. Today I am going to be sharing with you my top 4 meal planning tips for saving money, as well as how I meal plan, do my weekly meal plan. So this is probably going to be the first of a few different budgeting videos that I do. I've had a lot of people ask me a lot of questions lately about my budgeting. I've uploaded some of my meal planning videos along with my grocery hauls, and it's just spun into a whole conversation, which I love because it's what I really like talking about. So I wanted to be sure to answer a lot of those questions for you, and it's easier for me to do it in this capacity instead of trying to type it all out. But if there are any blog posts that I've done that are relevant, I'll be sure to link them below for you. So you can always check the description box to see any relevant links, articles, things of that nature. So I'm going to get right into it and share with you my top 4 meal planning tips for saving money. So my first tip, and I have these written down, so if I look down, it's because I just want to make sure that I have them all here for you. But my first tip is to set a strict budget and plan accordingly. So if you are into budgeting, then you already know who Jordan Page is, I'm sure, if you're YouTube obsessed like me. Jordan Page she does funcheaperfree.com. She does budget boot camp, and she was one of the first people that I started looking at about a year and a half ago when I was trying to make a switch to really strictly budgeting for us. She recommends that you do $100 per person per month. So that has been the plan that Brett and I have mainly stuck to, but of course you do need to plan accordingly, because if you have dietary restrictions, you could be spending more, and you just need to know that and prepare for it. A new baby can sometimes cost more than $100 a month. We haven't experienced that yet because we did some stockpiling beforehand, but it can be spendy. And even just little life changes, like when I was pregnant, I upped the budget because I was just hungry all the time, and so I just wanted to make sure that we had it in the budget that I could eat more, basically. Another way you can plan accordingly for sticking to your budget and plan is looking ahead at your week or your month and saying, okay, this is what I have going on. And I know that on Tuesday nights I work late and I need to come home and have something quick, or I need to pick something up on the way home, and that can be your night to, use some of your restaurant budget, whatever the case may be. If I know for Wednesdays I get off work early and I like cooking, so I usually try to plan more complex meals or new recipes on Wednesday nights because I know that I have the time to actually cook them through. So when you're looking at your weekly or monthly, however you typically plan, you can say, okay, I want to make this week. I'll pop this in on Monday because this and this. I'll pop this in on Tuesday because it needs to be a quick day. I'll pop this in on Wednesday because I want to spend a little extra time on it, and so on and so forth. If you make a plan and you think of it in an honest way, you should be able to stick to it. If you think, oh, I'm going to come home, I'm going to cook a full, super clean, super healthy meal, spend about an hour doing it, that's great if you can actually do it, but try to be realistic, and that way your plan that you have out will actually come to fruition instead of just being a plan that gets tossed to the wayside. So my second tip is to use what you have. This is my favorite advice to give someone because I wasn't using what I had. I was being super wasteful, and the things that I had, if I bought produce, then I would use it for one thing, and then the next week I would be cooking and I wouldn't touch that produce again. I would end up throwing it out. But now I can shop and look in my refrigerator and my pantry and say, okay, I have this, what can I make with it? Either the same thing I had last week because it was good, or a new recipe that would use those same items. Sometimes it's going to take you getting creative in order to make this work. But if you use what you have, you get creative, get on Pinterest, look at other bloggers and budget YouTubers who are doing the same thing as you, and see how you can creatively use those things that you already have in your pantry or your freezer or your refrigerator in a way that is more interesting to you, or just more frugal in the case that you're actually using it instead of throwing it out. That will be so helpful with sticking to a plan and a budget. Number 3, I say, is use what you have XL. So use what you have like on a bigger level instead of just saying, okay, I have this and this and I guess I'll use it this week. Take that and amplify it and think of it as a challenge, but try to do a week, start with a week of not buying any groceries except for things that you may need for your family, milk, fresh produce if you like to incorporate that a lot, and try to only spend like $10 per person on those weeks that you do the challenge basically. And don't buy anything else. Use strictly things that are in your pantry, in your freezer, in your refrigerator, because I guarantee if you've never done this before, you have so much food just sitting around that you're not using because you bought it for such and such recipe, or it sounded good that night, or whatever the case may be. You can at least try a week, and I like to go for a month doing this. Right now, if you're seeing my December hauls, you'll see that I'm spending $25 a week, and that's really shopping what I have and then buying just a few things, picking a few things up to make complete meals. But it ends up clearing out things that you may not have otherwise used, or clears up things that you needed to use more quickly, and just helps you, honestly, to be more frugal. Number 4 is to say no to couponing. So a lot of times you hear people say, I can't do shopping on a budget because I'm not going to cut coupons all the time. I almost never use coupons. There are exceptions. If I happen to run across a coupon on something that I use all the time, or I know I'll get great use out of, I will use the coupon. I'm not totally against coupons. I'm just saying that there's a better use of my time than couponing. And I find that, like, even when you're watching like those shows about people who are couponing, a lot of the times they're buying things and they're stocking their shelves and they don't need those things at all. They're like, I don't really eat cream corn, but it was on sale for this and I got it for free. Well, that's great, but you don't need it in your house. If you're into couponing for fun, then go ahead and donate all those items. But if you're trying to do it to save money for yourself and then you're just letting it sit there, it's really not doing anyone any good. So I say no to coupons. And the other thing is, if you see something that's on sale and you think, wow, that's a great price, I should really stock up. Stop and think, is this something I actually use a lot? I really recommend only stocking up on things that you know your family uses all the time and is something that you're constantly buying, therefore making it a better deal for you in the future. So like for my family, I will always stock up on chicken. We always use chicken breast all the time, so if I see it on sale for $1.69 per pound or cheaper, I typically buy a large pack and stock up that way when they're not on sale, even though they're a pretty budget-friendly option anyway. When they're not on sale, I just don't need to buy them because I already have them stocked up. And then another thing is, like, I make freezer breakfast sandwiches a lot, so if I ever see like what are those, English muffins or bagels or mini bagels, tortillas, things like that on sale, like at Aldi when they mark them down to like $1 for a bag or box or whatever it may be, then I will grab those as well and toss them in the freezer. But I don't fill my refrigerator and freezer with things that I won't use, but there are certain things that you should stock up on if you see a great price on it. Those are things that your family uses all the time. So I wanted to quickly explain to you how I meal plan. I've had some questions about how I use my planner when I'm meal planning. If you didn't know, I use the Erin Condren Life Planner. I think that's what it's called. Mine just has my initials on the front. Very boring this year, but I love it. I have the vertical week by week, and I can do an overview of how I use my planner because I used to get all fancy and sticker everything, and now I basically use it as like a running to-do list. But basically what I do is I go in fresh for the week, and say I'm planning for, I don't think you can see this, I'm planning for December 24th through the 30th, I will look and say, what do I have going on these days? So I know that on the 25th is Christmas, and I will be celebrating with my family that day, but I do need to make chicken noodles for our dinner. On the 28th, I have a holiday event with some other bloggers at Lola Blue Boutique in Broad Ripple in that evening, so it'll be Brett eating home and I will be out. So I need to think of something or have something ready that he can use because he doesn't cook. And then, so those are the only 2 days that I really need to consider that way. So I look at what I have going on that week. Then I go into my refrigerator, my freezer, my pantry, and I'll look at what I have. And I say, okay, I have chicken on hand, I have, you know, some pasta, I have some cream cheese, what can I do? And I say, hey, that sounds like the beginning of an easy chicken Alfredo. It takes a little longer to make that, so I'm going to do that on Wednesday night, and then so on and so forth. Another thing that I like to do is I like to look at my week the prior week, and say, okay, on Monday, I said I was going to make wraps, but I ended up not making wraps. So I'm going to move that to, you know, the next Monday or the next day that's available for me to put something down. And then I always keep a running tab of a grocery list, some written down, so I know that on that Sunday when I go grocery shopping, I have a list on a sticky note that I can just tear off and take with me to the grocery store. It has on it, it has like the things that I need for the next week, and I even put a little calculation of what I think the price is going to be, and that way I can kind of say, okay, I have this and I have this, and I was gonna get this, but if it puts me over budget, I may, you know, not use that or use something else or use a different side, whatever the case may be. That seems to work pretty well for me. If you have any questions about how I meal plan, want me to elaborate anything anymore, or if you have suggestions of things that I could do, or just want to tell me how you meal plan so I can consider it for something that I could implement, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. As always, you can find me at theprettyplus.com and on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest at theprettyplus. I look forward to connecting with you all soon. Thanks for watching.